Hey everybody, I'm Paul Slack with Vindy Digital, and I'm super excited that you're here today. You know, we have about 300 people that have registered for today's event, and so we are expecting a pretty good turnout. As you get settled in, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself there in chat. Let us know where you're from and what you're hoping to learn today. You know, social media is one of the most powerful channels for B2B marketers right now. The reason for that is the huge shift in the way that B2B buyers actually buy things today. The way that they discover, research, and decide who to work with has changed dramatically over the last few years. I mean, think about it. 5 years ago, we didn't go to social sites like LinkedIn or engage in community to stay connected with our peers or to stay up to date on our industry, but today we do. Unfortunately, most B2B companies, though, are going about social media the wrong way. And we've got to get this right if we're going to earn the attention of our buyer. You see, it's not about controlling the journey, but rather enabling the journey, doing the things we need to do to make sure that we stay top of mind so that we're there when they decide, not us, but the buyer decides that it's go time. Another challenge that we're dealing with today is that the buyers are going 83% through the buyer journey without our sellers in the room. That puts a huge burden on us as marketers to make sure that we're engaging with those buyers before they're ready to talk to sales. But that also points to a tremendous opportunity that social media brings to the table because it gives us a channel where we as marketers can get in there, build relationships, and engage with those buyers. So when we think about what's working now, which is really the topic of today's discussion, is what's working in B2B social, the key point that I really want to impress on you is it's what do we need to do to win mind share before we win market share? So when we think about that, what's working now, number one, we have to market to not only now buyers, but also future buyers. In fact, I would submit to you, and we'll talk more about this as we go through the material today, that future buyers are actually more important to your business than now buyers. But most B2B marketers out there really want to go after those now buyers, don't we? But it's much better to go after those future buyers and help them understand how we can help them first, which ties right into point number two. Good social media marketing in the world of B2B today is about helping more than selling, right? And I guess I'd submit to you to go look at some of the social content out there today, and it definitely feels like people are getting that backwards. Number three, it's about creating and distributing content that our buyers actually want, not the things that we're trying to sell them, but what is the information that they want? How can we package that up in a way that's useful and beneficial to them? And then number four, building relationships beyond the sellers, because at the end of the day, they're intentionally putting off talking to sales until the very last minute. So how do we do that? We certainly aren't going to do that by posting only on our LinkedIn or our social profiles as a brand. That's just not going to get the job done. We're also not going to do that by running lead gen ads to cold audiences and then handing those off to sales as hot leads. That's certainly not going to work either. It's really all about creating content that's going to set you apart. You know, if you think about what you see in the world of social media today from B2B companies, it's a sea of sameness, right? And we've got to step aside from that or step out of that. And that, to me, is really your big opportunity, to step into that uncrowded space and to deliver information that your buyers want. And this, to me, is the real tipping point here. If you look at this slide, you'll see the study that LinkedIn did where they went out and polled a bunch of B2B buyers, and they simply asked the question, what are the top factors that you want from a brand or a company before you're ready to talk to sales? Now remember, they're pushing off talking to sales until the very last minute. So this is a big clue on what we as marketers need to be providing to these buyers in social media. So let's just quickly go through the list. Number one, we need to validate that we understand their business. We can do that in social media. Number two, that we are subject matter experts on the problem that they're trying to solve. And number three, that we provide helpful information. All these things need to happen before they engage with the buyer. When we do this the right way, really good things are going to happen. Number one, they're going to remember the problem that we solve. Number two, they're going to value our point of view on how to solve that problem. And check out number three, they're going to believe that our company is the best option for them. Could we ask for anything more than that? For our best prospects to understand the problem that we solve, to value our point of view, and to believe that we're the best option? That's the opportunity that we have as B2B marketers in the world of social media. Now, I want to prove to you that this stuff actually works. At Vindy Digital, we drink our own champagne. We do exactly the same things that I'm going to walk you through today for ourselves as well as our clients. And you can see that 42% of our new business, the new clients that we sign up each year, come directly from social media, or at least tell us that that's how they heard about us. And when they do, when we get leads that say that they came from social media, we close those leads 52% of the time, which is pretty awesome. It's truly the hottest lead that we get if somebody comes to us through social media. But check this out. Our return on ad spend is through the roof. For every dollar we spend in advertising and social media, we get $13 back in return on investment. But we're not going after just now buyers. We're going after future buyers as well as now buyers. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I do want to let you know that we've got somebody manning chat today. Andrea, I want you to go ahead and say hi to everybody. If you've been to any of our webinars in the past, you've met Andrea before. If you come to our monthly jam sessions, then you've met Andrea before. She's there to answer any questions. We are going to have some time at the very end of the presentation today to get your questions answered as well, so Andrea may tee some up. Thank you guys for those that submitted questions into me before the event. I do have some of those that I'll share with you at the very end. And so be sure to say hi to Andrea, and I'd love to see lots of good engagement going on. I am trying something new today. I don't know if it's going to work, but I am on the side here just monitoring your chat, and I'm going to try to jump in and engage a little bit as we go through it, but never done that before. Let's see what happens. I'm also dealing with a little bit of a scratchy throat today, so I'm going to have to drink a lot of water. Just bear with me. Also, as we go through the information today is really part of a 4-part process. What I'm going to do today is give you a high-level overview of what's working now in the world of B2B social, but then I'm going to point you to some really useful resources here on the next slide that's a B2B social media playbook that we put together just for today, and an AI toolkit that's going to help you do a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. AI can be a really powerful tool in helping you get more done in the world of social media. So that's part 2. Part 3 is we've set aside some time over the next few weeks to actually meet with you one-on-one. And the purpose of that isn't a sales pitch at all, but to rather help you kind of take the information that we're delivering to you today, the resources that we're providing, and help you apply that specifically to your business. And so be sure to get signed up for that if you need some additional help. And then part 4, I'm really excited about this. So Andrea, who's managing chat for you right now, she's going to be actually running a LinkedIn ads clinic in our monthly Demand Gen Jam session. These are sessions that we do every single month. They're basically Zoom calls. We cover some hot topic. And so Andrea is one of the best at LinkedIn ads at Vindy Digital, and she's going to walk us through all the nuances that you need to understand that I'm not going to have time to cover today. So we'll make sure that you get invited to that jam session that's on June the 19th, so about a month away. Okay. One of the things that we always get asked is, are there going to be copies of the slides? And we do have copies of the slides. You can go to vindydigital.com/go. vindydigital.com/go, and you can grab the slides there. You can also grab this really awesome resource that we just put together, which is the B2B Social Playbook. It's got checklists. It's got all the things you need to think about that are really going to be a great companion piece to what I'm covering today. You can also get access to the slides and the AI toolkit. So vindydigital.com, be sure to go there to grab those resources at any point. Okay, so let's jump into some of the meat of the discussion today. And the first thing we want to do is just talk about how do you develop a winning B2B social strategy. And whenever we're talking about strategy, we have to start with goals. So what are we trying to accomplish? Like, what can B2B social do for our business? And you can see the number one goal here isn't to get more leads or to generate more pipeline. Those are absolutely byproducts of doing social media marketing the right way. But our number one goal, get this, is to get our prospects to spend more time with our content. And when we do that, those prospects are going to throw off signals that help us understand where they are in the buying journey. Remember, I talked about this at the beginning of the presentation. It's not about controlling the buying journey, but enabling the buying journey. And so we want to make sure that they're spending time with our content, and as they're engaging with our content, they're throwing off signals that tell us where they are in the journey. Ultimately, we want to become the go-to resource for our niche base of customers, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later on. And then finally, if we are going to generate leads and demand using social media marketing, we need to make it easy for them to become hand raisers when they are ready to talk to sales, which, as we've already established, is at the very end of the process. Another key point to understand when you're thinking about building a social media strategy for your business is understanding that only 1 to 5% of our customers are ever in market at a given time. And so focusing only on now buyers, those folks that are ready to buy now, is really silly. It's much better to market to all of our customers all of the time. And so as we think about strategy, one of the things I wanted to do is take a quick step back and think about where does social strategy kind of fit into our overarching go-to-market. And so what you're looking at now is actually the Vendy Digital Demand Gen framework. And I just wanted you to see this so that you could understand kind of where social media fits in. And I'm going to cover this pretty quickly here. But on the far left, the first thing you have to do in developing a good go-to-market strategy for your business is just build out a good plan. You need to understand where you're trying to go, what does winning look like, who your target customers are, what information really matters to them, and all that gets figured out in the planning phase. And then you move into that second pillar, which is the activate your audience phase. So one of the big mistakes we see companies make all the time in the world of B2B is they think that all their good stuff needs to live on their website. And what we're trying to communicate here is, no, all your good stuff needs to go out where your customers are spending time online. That's what we mean by activate your audience. Go where they are and engage with them where they're spending time online today. And as you can imagine, that's where social media is. So social media is about activating your audience. So once we figure out who we're trying to go after, the next thing we want to do is go figure out the channels that they're spending time online and make sure that we're engaging them there. Now, we can't stop at activate your audience because ultimately what we do want to do is get them over to our website. I got to back up here. Over to our website. That's that third pillar where it says establish authority. We believe that the best place for you to establish authority, to communicate to your prospects that you are qualified to solve their problem, and that you also have empathy. Not only are you qualified to solve their problem, but you want to solve their problem. The best place to do that is on your website. So as we activate our audience, which is where social media is, we can't stop there. We have to do that in a way that when they're ready to learn more, that we're pointing them to our website so that we can give them the information that they need and we can really establish authority. And then ultimately that last pillar, which is nurture relationships. We all are B2Bs here today. We're not selling things on our website right now. People are going to come to our website multiple times. We're dealing with buyer committees. There's lots of reasons why they're going to come to our site over that buying journey, and we just need to make sure that we have a really good plan to stay top of mind with them after they leave our site. Because we can't control when that buyer is going to be ready to say yes. All we can control is that when they are ready to say yes, they think of us first. To really kind of drive this point home about all the different touches that it takes to engage with buyers across all the different stages of the funnel, not just at the bottom of the funnel, I wanted to share with you this very interesting report that just came out from HockeyStack. HockeyStack is an attribution company that has shed some light on the dark social or dark funnel, however you want to call that, where they can really understand not just clicks to your website and the impact that clicks to your website are happening, what are happening in the journey, but also understanding impressions and the impact that impressions are having on the buyer journey. And so they've shed some interesting light here. As you can see, look at the very bottom in those orange numbers. It's 2,000, almost 3,000 impressions now to get somebody that doesn't know that your business exists to get them to want to buy something from you. So over almost 3,000 impressions, and right next to that, over 200 engagements or signals. And so that's amazing when you think about all that work that's got to go into staying top of mind with our buyers through their journey. And if you'll notice, a huge amount of those impressions and engagements are happening from impression to MQL and MQL to SQL. So a ton of that is happening in that top and middle of the funnel. And so another big mistake that we see companies make all the time is they want to get sales involved at this stage. The reality is, these are people that are trying to put off talking to sales until the very last minute. They're not ready to buy. They don't want to talk to sales. And so the worst possible thing that we could do is give a lead to a seller of a customer that's not ready to buy yet. And so this is where we as marketers really need to be engaging with these buyers. So what I've got here is high nurture effectiveness and low seller effectiveness. And so what ends up happening, the reason why your sellers are often saying that marketing doesn't produce very good leads is because you're giving them leads of people that aren't ready to talk to sales, that are intentionally wanting to put that off until the very last minute. So we as marketers need to step into that space and then make sure that our sellers are really focused on that last level right there, SQL to closed won, right? It's those 836 impressions, those 81 engagements that are happening at that level. That needs to be done primarily by sales guys and gals. So the other thing I wanted to point out before I move on to the next slide is notice that middle level right there, that MQL to SQL level. That's the fattest part of the process, right? That's where they need the most nurturing. And that ultimately, these are people that are not ready to talk to sales. This is the true opportunity that we have as marketers to come alongside them and give them the information that they need to make a good decision. So how do we do that? How do we become the go-to resource for our best customers? There's 7 things I wanted to highlight really quick. Number 1, we need to understand our audience better than our competition. So we need to understand that niche customer better than our competition that's going after those same customers. Number 2, we need to be easy to find. That's what Activate Your Audience is all about. We need to go to those channels where they're spending time online and be a part of their conversation. Number 3, we need to be generous with our knowledge. We want to get rid of gated things, and we want to make sure that we're making all of our great knowledge easily and readily available to them. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we do these webinars. That's why we put together playbooks like the B2B Social playbook that I just walked you through. The next one down, they're looking for actionable, quick tips. So we need to give them things that are easy to consume, things that they can pivot right into their organization once we give them the information and get some immediate benefit from. Moving on to the next column over there, we need to give them a plan for ongoing engagement. So one of the things we need to do, or we need to have a plan rather, for ongoing engagement. Once somebody engages with us, and if they're not ready to talk to sales, then we need to have a way to stay connected with them as they're going through that process. Next one down, we need to point to our unique selling proposition or our differentiated value. So as we deliver content to them and engage with them, the content and everything that we provide needs to always point back to what makes us great and how we can help them ultimately, which goes to the last point. We need to give them a plan forward. So at the end of the day, we know more about solving their problem than they do, right? They'd solve it on their own if they could. They can't, and so they need help. And so the businesses that take the time to figure out, hey, this customer is trying to get from here to here, how can we make that super simple? And how can we communicate often? What are the steps they need to do to get their problem solved with us? Those are the types of things that we need to provide to really become a go-to resource for them. Now, the first point here is understand your audience. And I'm sure a lot of you probably thought about personas when I said that. And the one thing I want to encourage you on is let's not build personas based on assumptions. Building personas based on assumptions is going to get you in a lot of trouble. My wife and I just finished The Crown last night, so this is kind of funny even as I think about it. But if you look at it, you know, King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne, 2 completely different people. But when we look at them on paper, they're both male, they're both born in 1948, they both grew up in the UK, they've been married twice, they live in a castle, they're really rich. Right? So personas based on assumptions aren't going to get the job done. What we need to do, if we're going to be successful in social media and package up the content that our customers really need, is we need to identify our niche first. Like, who are the very best customers that we serve, and try to talk to them exclusively. You know, another thing that I notice all the time in the world of B2B social is that the companies that I work with or talk to, they've got this, you know, everything to everybody approach. It's one size fits all content. And even though you can sell to maybe everybody that can sign a contract, I would submit to you that it's much better to go figure out who are those customers that you absolutely serve best? Who are your most profitable customers? Who are the ones that love you the most? And then go out and talk to them and find out what information matters to them. You can only do that by actually talking to them. We do these kind of interviews for our clients all the time. Find out, who do they trust and why do they trust them? You know, what does their decision journey look like? Let's not guess what their decision journey looks like. Let's go find out for sure. And the next one down, what is the tipping point? What was that thing that happened in their business that caused them to prioritize the problem that you can help them solve? And then, finally, where do they need the most help? Like, how can we help them the most, right? And I'm going to walk you through things that we can do once we figure this information out as we go through the presentation. But step one is, if you really want to win in social media, is get to know your customers really, really well. Okay, let's switch gears and move into, now that we kind of understand our strategy and what our goals are and what we're trying to accomplish and who we're trying to accomplish it with, now we need to package up some content that's going to get their attention. And you know, the thing about content marketing is, if all we're doing is talking about ourselves, you know, it's kind of like that first date. If we go out and just talk about ourselves at a first date, we're probably not going to get a second date. And so rather than talk about ourselves all the time, we need to figure out how to get them talking about themselves and how to give them what they want. And so when we think about building social media content that's going to help feed and fuel your social media strategy, these are the things to think about. Number one, you need to promote thought leadership around 3 to 5 content pillars. I'm going to get into content pillars a little bit more here in a minute, but it's really important that we don't try to talk about everything that we know, but rather pick 3 to 5 things that are really important for us to talk about. Marketing is an exercise in memorization, and if we talk about too many things, we're going to confuse our audience. They're not going to know how we can help them, and that's really important. So we want to create thought leadership around 3 to 5 content pillars. Then we want to build stories around our point of view. You know, what are those we believe statements as it relates to the content pillars that we're going to focus on? Number 3, we want to repurpose and reformat our long form content. So social and your blog strategy, or social and your long form content strategy, should not live in separate silos. They need to be together. But notice at the bottom, we need to humanize our existing content. You know, at the end of the day, social media has this really important word in it called social. And so that's about human interaction, right? And so when we take our long form content and repurpose it and make it available in social media, we need to do it in a way that feels very human and very authentic. Moving over to the next column, we need to align our content with the buyer journey. So it's not this one size fits all, like I've talked about, but we understand, hey, this buyer is at this stage, or they're at this stage, or at this other stage, and we want to serve them up content that's going to meet their needs at that stage. You know, kind of going back to one of the things I said at the beginning of the presentation, one of our goals with social media is to get them to throw off signals as they engage with our content, so we know where they are in the journey. This is where that comes into play, because we want to give them exactly what they need based on where they are in their decision journey. And then the last one there is, we want to distribute that content where they're going to learn today. So that's really what we're talking about in terms of social media. This is another interesting slide that just communicates what kind of information do buyers want from us that lead to sales. You know, I'm going to beat this drum pretty hard today. They're leaving sellers out of the room until the very last minute. And why I keep beating that drum is because we've got to sit, as marketers, we've got to come fill that gap. And so it's important to understand what are the information requirements that our buyers have before they're ready to talk to sales. And so these are the things that Demandbase found out by surveying a bunch of buyers. They want stats and quick hitting facts. That makes a ton of sense, right? They want things that are easy to share with their colleagues. You know, we're all dealing with sales committees, buying committees today. And so think about, how can I deliver information that could be shared in a Slack channel, that could be easily shared with my peers in my buying committee. The next one down, use cases, success stories, things that are going to validate that your point of view, your way of solving the problem that they have is the right way, that the better tomorrow that you're promising is the better tomorrow that they're looking for. And then the last one is designed to influence peers. I think we all know this, but typically in a B2B sale, especially one that's got a buying committee, we all usually have like a champion or a coach internally, but there's other people in that committee that either may not even want this to be a priority right now. Maybe they'd rather go with another vendor. And so what they're looking for is information that you can give them that's going to empower them internally within their organization to show, yeah, this is the company that we need to go with, or we do need to deal with this problem right now. And so that's the kind of information, as we're thinking about building out a content strategy for social, that we should be focusing on. Let's go back and talk about content pillars for just a second. So I talked about content pillars and that we need 3 to 5 content pillars because, you know, it's really important that our customers remember how we can help them. And if we talk about too many things, then we're going to confuse them. And so the number one thing that we talk to our clients about when we're thinking about coming up with content pillars is just to simply answer this question. What do you want to be known for? What is it that you want to be known for? If you go meet somebody at a party or you go engage with somebody at a trade show, what are the things you want to be known for? At Vindy Digital, we want to be known as a demand gen agency. At Vindy Digital, we want to be known as a B2B social media agency. We want to be known for those things. We want to be known for AI enablement. Those are examples of our content pillars. So ask yourself the question, what do we want to be known for? Once you figure that out, what are those 3 to 5 things that you want to be known for? The next question you have to ask are those what do we believe statements. What do we believe about these 3 to 5 content pillars? That's going to help you establish your narrative, your premise, and your point of view. So what do we believe about, what does Vindy Digital believe about demand gen? What does Vindy Digital believe about B2B social? That's how you develop your POV, your narrative. From there, you want to understand the pain points that your customers have as it relates to these content pillars. And then once you've got those 3 things figured out, now you can actually go and develop content topics. And so oftentimes what I see is kind of the inverse of that. And you've probably experienced that yourself, where it's like, hey, we need to build a content strategy or we need a social media content plan. What topics should we write about? And you kind of just spitball and come up with some things to talk about. It's so much better to start with those pillars and go through the process that I just walked you through. Okay, so now that we've kind of understand what our content pillars are and why it's important to develop our premise and our POV around those things, I want to give you some engagement boosters. And this is brand new data out of LinkedIn. They just basically released this data about 30 to 60 days ago. And this is showing you the types of things that are going to give your content more engagement. So I don't know if I did this very well, but on the far left, with that bar on the far left basically just represents all other social media content. So if you want to get more engagement, these are the things that you can do. And at the top of the list there is humor. So if you can make your content humorous and connect with your audience that way, you're going to get more engagement than a post that doesn't have humor. Moving down, you've got unique point of view. So if you can get those we believe statements out there, you're going to get a lot more engagement in your posts. The next one down is 3 or more formats. And so when you think about creating social media content, it's not just text and static images. It's how can you work in video? How can you work in carousels and documents into your social media mix? And then finally, that last one is thought leadership and thought leadership ads. Those are going to help you as you get founders out there and key subject matter experts talking about those content pillars that we just discussed. You're going to get a lot more engagement. And so when we think about how do we do that, how do we build thought leadership around 3 to 5 content pillars and not sound like a broken record? I hear that all the time. And the reality is that there's a lot of ways you can take 3 to 5 content pillars and create a ton of content. You just need to think about all the different ways to express your ideas. And I'm not going to cover this list in detail. I know you can download these slides whenever you want, but I'm just going to hit on a couple of them. What are some actionable insights? Remember, people are wanting some quick hits, some quick wins, some analytical deep dives. How can you challenge their norms or take a contrarian perspective? Old versus new. These are all ways that you can take those content pillars and then express them in a lot of different ways so that your content is interesting, but you're not talking all over the place. This is where AI, by the way, can be a tremendous ally in what you're trying to do. And I do want to highlight this real quick. So if you go to that vindydigital.com/go page and download our AI toolkit, you'll get to a prompt library, and we've got a whole section on social media there. One of my favorite prompts in there is this social media content matrix. You can see that right here. And literally, this is just a prompt that you can copy right out of our AI toolkit and then put into your favorite Gen AI tool. And so I'm just showing you an example here. You just copy it. And then what I did in this example is I just pasted it in a Google Doc. Those things that are in green, those are the things where you need to put in your content pillars or your target audience. You can see there's not a ton that you need to add in there to get this prompt to work for you. But check it out. You drop it into your favorite Gen AI tool. We use Jasper because we're a Jasper partner, and it will produce for you right before your very eyes in less than 30 seconds an entire month's worth of social media topic ideas. And so what you end up with is something that looks like this. And so I basically did this in order to do the webinar today. I just took a screenshot of what Jasper produced for us. And you can see it created some really good topics on our content pillars. So you can see over here, I'm just going to pick on a couple here. So B2B social media marketing under actionable insights. It said how to leverage LinkedIn for lead generation. Over here under demand gen, under actionable insights, I've got strategies for using webinars as lead generation. Jumping down to B2B content marketing, and analytical deep dives, we've got right here in the middle of the screen, the impact of long-form content on B2B audiences. So all of that came out of basically Gen AI and using one of those prompts. So if you're struggling with how do you create interesting content for social media, go grab that AI toolkit from that resource page and give it a try. Also, by the way, this is something that we can do during that one-on-one session. You know, I mentioned that at the beginning of the presentation. You can sit down with one of us. We can go grab that prompt together. You can give us your content pillars, and we can go do this together and build out a content matrix for you. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to take another sip. Again, sorry that my voice is a little rough today. I wanted to introduce you to this concept of being a social media mixologist. You know, a mixologist in my mind is something different than a bartender. A mixologist is the person that's going to create some really amazing drinks that their customers are going to love and enjoy. And I want you to think about when you're creating social media content that you're like this social media mixologist. You're going to put together some stuff that they're absolutely going to love. And remember, we don't want one size fits all. So I'm going to break down this for you at the different stages of the buyer's journey, because we need different content for each of those stages. So at the top of the funnel, when we're mixing our content up for the top of the funnel, our goal is awareness and education. Our goal is not lead generation. Our goal is awareness and education. So the content that we need to produce is going to promote our category more than ourselves. So why is demand generation important? Why is AI enablement important in B2B marketing? Those would be examples of things that we would talk about at top of the funnel. We need to share our point of view. What are those things we believe about those things? We need to talk about the problems that we know our customers are having. We need to share industry news and trends. And then that last bullet, it needs to be zero click at the top of the funnel. I can't impress upon you enough how important zero click is in social media. And what I mean by zero click is simply this, that you give away the good stuff in the feed, in that post, without them having to click over to your website. You see, social media is not the same thing as SEO or search. When you go to a site like Google, you're going there with the intent of landing on Google, doing a search, and going to another website. When we go to social media sites, your users, your customers, they're not going there with the intent of clicking over to something else. And so we want to give them the content in the format and the way that they want. And so what a lot of B2Bs do today, they struggle with this because their posts are very clickbaity. And what works a lot better, especially in the top of the funnel, is this zero-click content concept. So I've got some examples here I just wanted to share with you. So, hopefully some of this will make sense and resonate with you. Like this is top of the funnel content by some pretty big brands I'm sure that you're going to recognize. And you can see they're using humor. This does not feel like or look like a brochure. And they're showing empathy. And again, you'll want to download these slides. I don't have time to go into great detail with all of these, but I just wanted you to see what some other companies that really get social are doing. This is a great example of attention-grabbing stats. So using stats in videos, using stats as an infograph, just having a big number stat. These are great ways to stop the scroll and get the attention of your customer at the top of the funnel. Here's some examples of zero-click content that is sharing our point of view. You can see we've got a video going here as well as text. And so just an example of long-form point of view content. I love this example here from Gong, really kind of drafting off of Caitlin Clark, right? So current event, really popular person. Let's go build some social content around that to get the attention of our buyers. These are just great examples of top of the funnel. Another one, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but take that content that used to gate on your website and just go give it away in the top of the funnel. Here's an example of our B2B website UX checklist, and we just give that away in the top of the funnel as a document post. Okay, so we've talked about top of the funnel, and now we need to move into middle of the funnel. And our goal at middle of the funnel is to create momentum and start getting engagement with our customers. So now they're in the middle of the funnel. They know the problem that we solve. We answered the question above, what do we want to be what do we want them to know? Now we're trying to get them to do something and create momentum. And so this is where we can start talking about our story and our promise. So in top of the funnel, it's more about our category. Now we're talking about, hey, this is how we think about it. This is how we would solve that problem. You'll notice third bullet down, how-tos and how-we's are really effective at this middle of the funnel. Quick tips and best practices work really well. And then content upgrades. You hear me say that I'm not a fan of gating content, and I'm not, but I'm also a fan of creating exclusive content for your community and making that available to them. That's what I mean by content upgrades. Let me walk you through a few examples here in the mid-funnel. So this is Cisco. They're doing a great job of making some key points about why their solution is a good solution. They're talking about a better tomorrow for their customer. This is a couple of examples of promoting events. There's one of our events on the left. There's a great video from HubSpot promoting an event, which was just shot with a phone and then edited in post-production. But you'll notice in both cases, we're using smiley, happy people. I know that's silly, but we've just found when you have pictures of smiley, happy people in social media, you just get more engagement. Here's examples of tips and resources. I just want to highlight a couple of things here. The one in the middle is a tip and resource, but it's also invoking curiosity. Curiosity is great for social media, especially in the middle of the funnel. And so HubSpot's got this post that says over 20% of unicorns have this, and this is underlined, in common. What they're trying to do is invoke curiosity to make you want to go see what this is. And then the one on the far right is Rand Fishkin and with Spark Toro, and he does a wonderful job as a founder, really showing how to use his product in the middle of the funnel with videos and screenshots. These are just great examples for middle of the funnel. Okay, let's move on to bottom of the funnel. And so now we've got top of the funnel covered. We're done middle of the funnel. And now it's go time, right? Now we want to be there when they're ready to talk to sales. That 83%, maybe they're at 80%, 81%. They're getting close and wanting to talk to sales. We want to be there. So now our messaging needs to change a little bit. It's now, why us? Why are we the perfect solution to solve this problem for you? And why now? Why should you solve this problem right now? The content that you're sharing at this stage is 50-50 content, so useful information, and 50-50 offers. So you're making sure that you are communicating the plan forward and giving them an easy opportunity for them to take that. Social proof works really, really well here at bottom of the funnel. And you also want to focus on features, but not until you've talked about benefits. You never want to lead with features. You always want to lead with benefits and then have those benefits point to your features. So when we think about why us, why now, one thing I just wanted to share with you, and I'm sure all of you guys know this, but we need to be reminded of it sometimes. When we lose business as B2Bs, most of the time it's not to another competitor. Most of the time it is actually to indecision. And so when you think about a B2B buyer and that person that's ultimately going to make that decision, they've got a lot at stake at making the wrong decision. It could make them look bad. It could hurt their company. It could hurt their team. And so oftentimes it's easier just to make no decision. And so at the bottom of the funnel, man, we've really got to start focusing on communicating that the pain of same is greater than the pain of change. All change is challenging, right? And that's usually what creates the inertia. But if we can help them understand that the pain of same is greater, then that's the kind of message we need to be delivering at the bottom of the funnel. I think this first one here with Dooley is great because they're working in humor and also talking about, stop babysitting reps. That's the pain, right? Start coaching them to closed won. That's the opportunity. Decrease the drudgery, according to Clary, right? These are examples of, hey, stop the pain, make it go away. Here's some great examples of why us, why now, and also benefit feature. I think Zapier does a great job in this one on the left where they say, close more deals with Zapier, right? That's the benefit, close more deals. And then they explain the feature, and that's LinkedIn lead gen forms, right? So start with the benefit, then go to the feature. That works way better. This one on the right is one of our clients, and it's a calculator that helps you just calculate your return on investment. Again, pain of same is greater than pain of change. Some other bottom of the funnel examples are we're starting to get into social proof here. So the one on the left and the far left and the far right are actual testimonials. Man, I cannot tell you how important it is to get good testimonials in this bottom of the funnel content that really validate all the things you've been saying in the top and middle of the funnel. That's really key. And then the one in the middle here is Oracle, who actually does a pretty good job with their social content, really providing social proof with stats, right? 4 of the top 5 U.S. banks trust Oracle Cloud applications. So that's just really communicating a great bottom of the funnel message. Okay, so we've talked about strategy and kind of getting our goals right and aligning social media with our overarching go-to-market. Then we've looked at, the things we need to do to build really effective content, because content is the fuel that's going to make our social media go. Now what I want to do is just put some of this stuff in action for you and talk about how do we execute with excellence. All right. So as we move in to executing with excellence, the first thing I've done here is I've kind of simplified the funnel. It'll help us as we go through this. And so we've got our 2 buyers here. We got the future buyer at the top. Remember, that goal is consumption. It's not direct conversion. We just want them to consume and engage our content. And the now buyer here at the bottom is we want momentum, right? We want them to do something, to either throw off a signal or ultimately convert with us. And then you've got organic and paid on the left and the right. And the reason why I've got that is your social ads, because we're going to talk about paid here in a minute, your social ads should not look like ads. Your social ads really just need to be great content that serves your customer at the different stages of the buyer journey. And so one thing I say all the time is if it's good enough for organic, then it's good enough for paid. If it's good enough for paid, then it's good enough for organic. So let's break that down. Let's cover organic first, and then we'll talk about paid. There's a lot of things going on in the world of organic, but I don't have time to cover them all, so I wanted to cover 3 that I thought would be helpful to you today. The number one thing that's working in organic right now is employee-generated content or employee advocacy. This is a huge miss by most companies right now. And what I'm talking about is getting your employees involved, getting your founders engaged in social media. Man, I'm telling you, if your founders aren't involved in social media, they need to be. It's a huge missed opportunity. I'm in social media every single day. I'm sure a huge percentage of you guys watching this webinar right now are here because of the stuff you see me share in social media every day. You've got to get your C-suite. You've got to get your subject matter experts out there engaging in social media. It works so well. Number 2, community, and I'll go into that here in a little bit. And then number 3, something that I am super hot on all of a sudden is newsletters, and specifically I'm talking about LinkedIn newsletters. But let's talk about employee-generated content or employee advocacy first. And so why do you think this is working so well? There's a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is this. And I'm going to speak specifically about LinkedIn here. Of all of the LinkedIn profiles out there on LinkedIn, and I don't know how many there are, I haven't looked at the number in a long time, but it's like 1 billion or something. It's a giant number. Only 1% of the people that have profiles on LinkedIn ever share anything on LinkedIn. And so if you can get your employees sharing content, that's a huge opportunity to grow awareness for your brand. It's a huge, huge opportunity. And so when you get your employees engaged, what you're doing is establishing trust for your business. At the end of the day, we've all heard it said before, right? People do business with what, right? I'd love to see you chat that in. People do business with, is it businesses or is it people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? So it creates trust by having your people out there talking about your brand. Number 2, it creates authentic voices. So one of the things that you want to do in employee advocacy is not just tee up content and then blast it out on their profiles, but you want to empower them and give them the ability to use their own voice to talk about the problems that you solve and all the things that we've been covering today. Next is amplified reach, and this is like super powerful. So a couple of things that you may not be aware of. One is when you share something on LinkedIn, on your personal page, that triggers the LinkedIn algorithm, and you're going to get way, way more reach on your personal profile than when you post something on your company page. And so just by getting your employees out there sharing content, like when I share a post on my personal profile and we go and share a very similar post on LinkedIn, or on our LinkedIn company page rather, I get like 4 to 5 times more reach than what we get on our company page. And so absolutely, you're going to get more reach just organically because of the algorithm. But the other thing is just the exponential factor, right? So you've got one company page that you can post on. But if you've got 10 or 20 or 100 employees out there sharing, not only are they going to get that algorithmic benefit, but you're also going to get the exponential benefit. And then finally, just brand ambassadors. When you've got people out there telling the world that you're a great company, people are going to start listening to them, and they truly become your very, very best influencers. We don't need the Kardashians in the world of B2B. We just need to get our employees out there talking about how great we are. To really try to drive this point home, Cisco, a company that we all know about, they're training all 84,000 of their employees to become thought leader influencers on LinkedIn. So this is a huge opportunity. Some key things to think about related to that is, number one, I would not recommend that you try to get everybody in your company to start posting on LinkedIn or to start talking about your brand in social media. That's not going to work. You want to identify the employees that show some kind of interest and aptitude. I've already beat the drum that your C-suite needs to get involved. Provide training. Give them some ready-to-share content, but that next bullet down is really important. Empower them to build their own personal brand. You do not control their personal profile. You want to equip them and give them the training and let them go do their own thing. Reward and recognize them. Monitor the process. Learn so that you can get better. All right, so let's move on to community. So we talked about employee advocacy. Community is a great way for us marketers to win the mid-funnel, especially with our customers that are not ready to talk to sales. And it's also wonderful for our content flywheel, because when you do community the right way, and by the way, we do have a community. It's called the B2B Jammers Group. We currently run it on LinkedIn. Big shout out to all of you Jammers that are watching today. I appreciate you being here today. If you're not part of our Jammers group, we'll make sure that we send you a link. It's on LinkedIn. Very easy to be a part of the group. So I would love for you to do that. But as we're talking about why do you have community and the role that marketing can play in that, it does feed our flywheel, because what happens when you do it the right way, you're talking to customers. Their guard is down because you're not a sales guy. You build relationships with them. You start learning their challenges. You find ways to help them, and then you package that back up and give it back to them. Doesn't that sound like a content flywheel? A huge amount of the content that we produce on a day in and day out at Vindy Digital comes directly from the information that we learn through our audience and community. Now, there's 4 steps that you need to think about, or what we found are 4 quadrants, if you will, in building a good community. These are what work for us. So we have the group on LinkedIn that I've already talked about. Then we have these meetups, and there's 2 ways we do meetups in our community. One is the monthly Demand Gen Jam Session. Ryan, I know you're going to laugh at me because I just totally got tongue twisted on that. The Demand Gen Jam Session is our monthly serial event. It's the same time every month. We cover hot topics, and we get 100 or so people that attend those or register for those. And then we do these one-on-ones. I've talked about those a couple of times today, where we can have a one-on-one session. Those are to serve our community. That's a critical part of what makes this work. Another critical part of these meetups, if you will, is that they have to be sales-free zones. You'll never hear us bring a pitch to any of this stuff that we do in our community, and you're not going to get a pitch today because this content is really for our community. Then peer connection. So when you're in community, part of your job is to be a professional introducer. Maybe that's helping somebody get a job. We've been doing a lot of that lately because of a lot of layoffs that have been going on in marketing. But also if there's somebody that you can connect internally to another peer that's going to benefit them or help them, that's part of your job. And then providing exclusive resources. So this content that you're getting today, this webinar, the B2B Social Playbook, those are examples of exclusive resources that we make available to our community. Okay, so let's talk about LinkedIn newsletters. And I mentioned at the top here of this section how I'm really excited about these because LinkedIn, for whatever reason, is really pushing these out to their audience. And so what we found works really well. By the way, these LinkedIn newsletters, you can set them up on LinkedIn. I'm not going to have time to show you how to do that today. We can certainly cover that in a one-on-one session. But one thing that we love, really simple play. We just take old content that did well on our website, like a blog, and we repurpose it as a newsletter on LinkedIn. And what happens is all of your subscribers are going to get notified whenever you do a new release. They're also going to get the newsletter in their inbox, which is incredible. So this is a great place to promote events, promote your content upgrades. It also is way more evergreen than social posts. You know, when you do a social post, it may last a day. But when you do a newsletter, it shows up in their articles inside of LinkedIn, but it also lives inside the inbox of your customers. So really very powerful thing. And I'm going to drive that point home with just a quick success story here. So we actually launched this for one of our clients earlier this month, like less than a month ago. And all we did was do the same play I just walked you through. We took an old blog, we created a LinkedIn newsletter article out of it, we sent it on its way, and we generated 5,000 subscribers in just a couple of weeks. So pretty impressive. If you haven't played with it or looked into LinkedIn newsletters, I highly encourage you to do that. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about paid social. This is really the last topic we're going to cover before we move into the Q&A. So there's three things in paid social I want to cover today. One is how do we, we've talked about being always on. We've talked about every stage of the funnel and making sure that we're there. How does paid help us accomplish that? That's point number one. Then I want to talk a little bit about thought leadership ads. They're really awesome tool for all of us right now. And then finally, smart retargeting. So the first thing I just wanted to share with you is social ads are a megaphone. They are not marketing. So if you've got crappy content, all you're really doing is amplifying your crappy content and making it louder. So you've got to just, what I see a lot of people do is they're like, oh, LinkedIn ads or social media ads, let's give that a try. And they do something that feels very direct response, that feels very much like an ad. They throw some money behind it and then they don't get good results and then they wonder what happened. And so just remember, social ads are really just an amplifier. And the thing I love about them is it's guaranteed delivery of your very best content to a very exact target audience. So when you're, especially on LinkedIn, running social media ads, you can be incredibly precise with who sees those ads. So when we're thinking about paid, here's that funnel again. Big miss by a lot of companies because of all the things we've been talking about today. They're putting all their eggs in the bottom of the funnel basket. And what I'm telling you is you need to put 60 to 70% of your ad budget in that top and middle of the funnel. And then put 30 to 40% of your ad budget in the bottom of the funnel. So when you do that, you're going to get much better return on ad spend and you're going to get much better results. Let me try to tie all this together here in a chart, and then I'm going to give you some examples. Okay, so here's our funnel, and I want you to think about it in Journey. I've just got it set up as a funnel because that's the easiest way to communicate this information. So at the top of the funnel, we've got our future buyers, right? And hopefully by now you know that our goal at future buyer stage is not direct response, but rather momentum or consumption rather. And we want to answer the question, what do we want them to know about our category? What do we want them to know about our POV? We want to get multiple types of content up there. So static images, videos, document ads, thought leadership ads, all of those things need to be in top of the funnel. And we need to spend money to guarantee that our target customers see that information. And guess what happens? When they do see that information, they're going to engage with it. And when they engage with it, that's going to graduate them from top of the funnel to middle of the funnel. So the thing that moved them in, so you might be asking yourself, well, how do you make sure that the people get the right content at the right stages? It's their engagement with your content, and those signals that they're throwing off is what drives all of this. So you run top of the funnel to your cold audience. Once they engage with that, now they're in the middle of the funnel, and our goal is to create momentum and to provide a plan forward. Okay, this is where we start promoting events like, hey, come to an event, hey, join our community. Here's some tips, here's some best practices. So they're getting more information around how you can specifically solve their problem or how you think about solving their problem. And again, when they engage with this content, guess what happens? They move down into that bottom of the funnel, which is where they're in market. And now the goal is conversion. And so you're using their behavior as what's triggering the information that they see. Can you see when you look at it this way, why one-size-fits-all ads just don't work in social media. You've got to get the right information at the right stage and let the buyer tell you where they are in their journey by the way that they engage in your content. And then leads that aren't closing, like MQLs or people that come to events that don't want to talk to sales or whatever, they just go right back to the top of the funnel and you work them back through the process. And then finally, just a big shout out, make sure that you're always testing new channels. So like, for example, right now we're starting to test Reddit with some of our clients. We're starting to double down on channels like YouTube. You always want to shift some of your budget into new exploratory channels to see what's going to hit and where your audience might be spending time. So what drives, let me back up just real quick. So you see these little engagement right here, engagement. The thing that drives that is retargeting. So, when somebody engages with your content, either they clicked on an ad or they watched a video or they swiped through one of your document ads or they went to your website, that's all engagement. And what drives that is really retargeting. So when you're building out your retargeting, you've got to be smart about it. So when somebody moves from top of the funnel to middle of the funnel, you want to exclude them from the top of the funnel content and make sure they're only seeing middle of the funnel content. One thing that companies really don't understand is that all kinds of signals are being thrown out there, whether they're engaging with your blog or looking at certain parts of your website or engaging in social content like I just described. All of that can go into a retargeting pool. All that data, it doesn't matter where it came from. It came from search, it came from LinkedIn, it came from your website. All of that goes into a retargeting pool. And then what I love about LinkedIn is you can then overlay that. So they're anonymous to you at that point. But now you can overlay all of that, all those folks that are in your retargeting pool with the criteria that matter to you. Like maybe this quarter, you're focused on a certain type of business or a certain geography or a certain type of buyer. All of that stuff gets handled at the targeting layer, the targeting criteria layer inside of LinkedIn. And then from there, you're able to drive those very personalized conversations and communication to those buyers. And so, these two things really come together. I'm going to back up real quick. So what makes this work is really just doing retargeting the right way. And this is certainly something that we can help you think about and talk more about in a one-on-one. Okay, I'm going to talk about thought leadership ads, and then I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and then we can move into the Q&A process. So thought leadership ads, they've been around for about a year. They're really, really awesome because what you can do with a thought leadership ad is take posts from other people. At first it was with your employees. Now it can be anybody that you've got permission to actually promote their content. And you can promote that content to a target audience, and to the user, it looks like just another post in their feed. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. So the only thing you can see, do you see that orange bar? So this is a post that started out as an organic post for me, but then Vendy Digital boosted that post. And so what's underneath that orange bar, right above that orange bar, is just promoted by Vendy Digital. And you just get incredible engagement. People buy from people. Now, these are great for top of the funnel, and this tactic was used for us last year as a top of the funnel tactic. But this one ad, believe it or not, generated a $100,000 contract for us right after we launched it. It was unbelievable. So that's not the purpose of top of the funnel, but it did work. I got DM'd right after we did this, and they're one of our clients today. So when we think about our playbook for thought leadership ads, you want to pick somebody that's posting consistently, that's got a following. The content's got to be relevant to your content pillars. It needs to be zero click, so not clickbaity at all. And then when you're trying to pick the right posts that are going to work, find on that organic side, so whoever posted it originally, did they get greater than 3% engagement on their post? So those would be ones that you would consider good candidates. And then after the post is done, you want to edit, or once the post has kind of run its course organically, you can go in and edit that post with links or calls to action or whatever you want to add to it. So let it run its course organically, and then you can work in, like for example, this post here, we talked about some resources that we wanted to make available. And so, organically, this is weird on LinkedIn. When you post something organically on LinkedIn and it's got a link in the post, it doesn't do as well. And so for this post, we let it run its course organically, then we edited it, put the links inside the post, and then we started promoting it as a thought leader ad. Okay, so what I want to do now is just walk you through a couple of quick examples, and then we'll get to your questions. Hopefully this has been a good session for you guys. So when we think about top of the funnel, we think about paid, we talked about the value of having different types of format at all the different stages, and you're going to get an engagement boost when that happens. When your goal is building a retargeting pool, which should be all of our goals because we want to use that retargeting pool to move people from one stage to the next, video just rocks. One of the great things about video is as people start watching the video, you can put them in a retargeting pool. If you've got a static ad, they've got to engage with that static ad by clicking on something, which is more work, if you will. And so it's harder to build a retargeting pool with just static ads. And you can see here that we get 10 times more people in our retargeting pool when we run video at top of the funnel. Okay, so the other thing you want to do with ads is you want to make sure that you A/B test things, especially if there's a direct call to action. And you remember in the middle of the funnel, we focus on events quite a bit. And so I'd love to get your perspective on this. So you guys, I can see you chatting here on my phone, which has been fun to watch as we go through this. So question for you, one of these ads for an event that we did last year generated 50% more leads at 19% less cost per lead. Do you think it was ad A or ad B? And I don't know if you can even see enough here to tell which one was the one that was more effective. The one on the left, ad A, actually got 21 conversions at $44 in conversion. The one on ad B got 14 conversions. They both ran exactly the same time, the same amount of time, same flight. So what was the big difference? You're going to be blown away. One little thing. The only difference between those two ads is that we called out our audience in the first sentence of ad A, and that made all the difference in the world. And hopefully that drives home a point for you that when we can tailor our content based on the buyer and where they are in the journey, you're going to have way better conversions than just one size fits all static content. So let me try to tie all this together for you. And I'm going to try to tell a story here, but we do these monthly events. It's part of our social media strategy. It's part of our go-to-market strategy. And all of this stuff is interwoven, right? It's not social by itself. It's part of our overarching go-to-market strategy. So when we do these monthly events, we have about 120 people register for these events, the monthly ones that we do, the Demand Gen Jam sessions. We get about 60 people that attend live and they stay for the whole thing. So they watch about 60 hours worth of content. We take that exact same content, we push it out on YouTube, and on an average month, in 1 month, like 1 month after it's been out there, it gets viewed about 370 times and about 50 hours of content consumption. So we've now doubled the amount of time people have spent with our content, but way more than doubled the amount of people that saw our content. Then we take that content and we literally slice it up into 1 to 3 minute segments. In fact, you're going to see 1 to 3 minute segments of this webinar in your LinkedIn feed really soon. And then we push that out to our audience using paid. And look what happens. It gets seen by 8,000 additional viewers, gets played over 30,000 times, and 200 hours of that content gets watched on LinkedIn. And so when you summarize all that together, one event gets seen by 8,400 people, gets watched 322 hours. We spend about $2,000 a month on this particular tactic. And so our cost per viewer is like 25 cents a viewer. But it's not just viewers of a newspaper, let's say. Anybody that buys a newspaper is going to see it. These are exactly the people that we want to see our ads and our information. And this doesn't look like an ad, does it? It's just information. Our goal isn't to convert. Our goal is to empower them and to stay top of mind so that when they decide that it's go time, that we're there and we're one of the folks that they think about is the best person that can help them solve their problem. I'm going to go all the way back to, remember, our goal with social media is to get them to remember the problem that we solve, value our point of view, and believe that we are the best company that can help them when they're ready to go. And that's exactly what we're doing with content just like this. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm just looked at the clock. I see we've run a little bit long. If you've got to run, thank you for your time. I'm going to spend a few minutes here just going through these questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. And I'll make sure that all the questions that you guys asked that weren't answered by Andrea, we'll make sure that we get those answered in our community. And if you're not part of our community, then we'll make sure that you get invited to that as well. So for those of you that need to jet, thank you for your time. For those that can stay for the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to answer these questions and then we'll call it a day. Thanks a lot, guys. So here's the first question. What is the dark funnel and how does it relate to social media? So that's a great question. A lot of people will refer to the dark funnel as also the dark social, which just basically means what are the actions that our customers are taking where they're anonymous to us. Maybe they haven't filled out a form, maybe they haven't even been to our website, but they're learning about us and they're starting to understand how we can help them or things like that. That's really what the dark funnel is and dark social. And quite frankly, social media is one of the key areas to do that. And when you follow the process that we walked you through today, this is how you win the dark funnel. We don't have to track everything. See, one of the problems that I think MarTech providers have done is given us the belief that we've got to track every single thing. And if it wasn't trackable, it didn't happen. But the reality is a lot of the things that are going to help you win business aren't trackable. And that's really what the dark funnel is all about. All right, let's move on to the next question. What role should AI play in social media? Man, AI is playing a big role right now for us. It's going to play a bigger role in the future. But where we believe AI is the most helpful is in ideation and content support. We're not ready to say that you should generate content with AI. I think you saw that great example I used a little bit earlier where it can help you build out an entire month's worth of content topics. But I would not ask AI to write a blog for you today. I use AI almost every time we write something, but we're using it as an assistant. I'll give you an example. Like when we do these monthly demand gen jam sessions, we take the transcript of that jam session and we use that AI to help us write blogs and social media content from the transcript. So we never start with a blank sheet of paper, but we use our prompts and the trained people to help us take something like a transcript and convert it into something that would be useful, but we would never ask it to start from scratch. Hopefully that helps. Okay, next question. How should our social media strategy differ from SEO or pay-per-click search? That's a great question, and they're totally different. They're both important, but they're totally different. B2B buyers use social media today. B2B buyers use search today. But the intention is totally different. When B2B buyers are on social media, they're staying connected with their peers, they're staying up to date on their industry, and they're passively learning. Their desired outcome is not to click from LinkedIn to your website, but social or search rather is a buyer-initiated media, which basically means your intention when you go to search is to find something, to get a question answered. And so they're both important. Social media is more top and middle of the funnel. SEO or pay-per-click is more bottom of the funnel. Okay, last question, and then we're going to wrap after this because I know we went long. Are there other channels? Are there other channels in LinkedIn that we should be exploring? Absolutely. So LinkedIn is a wonderful channel, and it's a great place to get started in the world of B2B. All these things that I talked to you about today can absolutely be done well in LinkedIn and done with excellence. But remember that slide I shared where I talked about testing new channels? I would highly encourage you to start with LinkedIn. If you're not doing LinkedIn well, start there and figure that out first, but then start testing other channels. So we're really high on YouTube right now. Twitter or X, depending on the situation, can be good. Reddit is something that we're starting to see some good results with. So absolutely, it's not all just LinkedIn, but I would highly encourage you to try other things as well. Always set aside some of your effort, some of your budget for those things. And so, guys, thank you for those of you that hung with me a little long today. I appreciate that. Just a quick reminder, go to vendidigital.com/go. That's where you're going to get the free resources that we talked about today. That's where you'll be able to sign up for your one-on-one session with us so we can help you apply the information that we've shared with you today specifically to your business. We'd love to do that. We've got several slots set aside over the next 2 weeks. These are not sales pitches at all. It's just us helping you apply this information to your business. We'd love to meet with you about that. And then we'll make sure that everybody is invited to our June Demand Gen Jam session on June the 19th at 12 o'clock Central Time, where we'll be doing a deep dive on LinkedIn ads. So I walked you through the kinds of ads that we need, but now you need to understand really what are the nitty gritty, how do we get these ads in market, and Andrea's going to walk us through that, and so hopefully you can be a part of that. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this was incredibly valuable for you. Hopefully you learned some things about LinkedIn and social media that you didn't know about. Hopefully you'll be able to pivot into your organization, start applying some of the things that you learned today, and get some real value for your business. Until next time, guys, have a great day.